might not suck this year.
This is the Baseball Hour with Tony Maz.
Me!
Presented by Bigelow Tea, Jackson Lumber, Blue Moonlight, Wellesley Testosterone, FindMassMoney.com, Gem Plumbing, and by Golf. On Boston's home for sports, 98.5, the Sports Hub.
AC, obviously, we get here this afternoon. We see Christian Campbell. Everyone's talking about Christian Campbell at first base. Tell us what happened today with Christian Campbell and how it went.
It went first base, this is KC. KC, this is first base. Just introduce him to the position, get used to the footwork, just exploring different ways to maximize the position, maximize the roster, and I think versatility comes into play. There's a kid that has played center, has played left, short, second, and I believe athletic-wise he can learn the position. And it doesn't mean that he's going to play second base tomorrow or against the Mets or Baltimore, but at least we took the first step, and he's going to be working at it.
Well, there you go. That was Alex Cora along with Tom Caron on the Nesson pregame show just a short time ago with the big news of the day as it concerns the Red Sox, and it is big news. Don't kid yourself. That's where we'll start tonight on the Baseball Hour. Christian Campbell working out now at first base. That was the news from the ballpark. And again, the Red Sox obviously want this out there because he was out on the field for everyone to see. So 617-779-0985. That's where we will start with the program tonight. This is obviously a major move, an attempt to solve the Red Sox problems at first base. And for that matter, potentially solve their problems also at second base, the latter of which has not gotten enough attention here in the early part of this season and probably should have gotten more than it has. But Matt McCarthy is alongside. Tyler Milliken not with us this week. I told you at the beginning of the year, this Roundtable Friday, keep track of the Fridays we're all here because it will be few and far between.
Might never happen. By the way, Maz, you in next Friday?
No.
That's correct. Yep.
Okay.
What about the one after that?
So that's Memorial Day. No. Next week's Memorial Day weekend. So the one after Memorial Day weekend?
Yeah. The schedule says no.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if I've taken that one off yet.
Summer of Maz begins in May.
I'm just going
now.
by the schedule. The Summer of Maz starts next week.
Well, next Friday I have a good excuse. I have a good reason. My son's graduating next Friday. So that's why I'm not in next Friday. The 30th might be because of golf.
Could do the show remote those days.
But we'll get to that later. In any case, Campbell at first base. We're going to play a little sound for you here in a moment. But Matt McCarthy, let's start with you. What do you think?
So first of all, let's commend Christian Campbell for being a team player, unlike Rafael Devers, because I do think this is an interesting part of the story. Here's a kid coming up. He's already gotten his contract, and he says, I'll do anything to help the team. Meanwhile, the face of the team says, no, I don't want to do it, can't be bothered. So that's a part of it. I don't like this idea, though, Maz, and here's why. If the Red Sox felt that first base was going to be a good option for Campbell, don't you think they would have tried him there by now? Here's a guy who really doesn't have a position, and that was the knock on him coming out of the minor leagues. Last year, he played second, short, third, center, right, and left in the minor leagues. Never played first base. So it's a guy without a position. They've been trying to find his position. They haven't tried him there yet. If the Red Sox felt like he was a long-term solution at first base, I'd be totally on board with it. I just don't think it's their preference, so therefore I don't think it's my preference either. That being said, it does undeniably help the team. This would open up a spot for Marcelo Meyer. He would come up, I would assume, and play second base. So it's better than what you're doing now. But shouldn't really the goal of figuring out first base be to get Roman Anthony up here, who is a better prospect than Meyer? Again, that's a nitpick, but I want Anthony up before Meyer first. Either way, though, it would make the team better. But I think the big story is this. This is letting the veteran players on the roster off the hook. Rafael Devers doesn't want to do it, even though that would make the team its best, because then you could get Anthony up instead of Meyer. They don't want to ask Trevor Story to do it, even though he's has a 630 OPS and probably should lose his job at shortstop based on the way he's performed this year. But here he is again tonight at shortstop. So it's the kids doing the right thing. It's Christian Campbell saying, I want to go to first base. That's going to open up a spot for another one of the kids. But to me, it's letting the veteran players on this roster off the hook, and it's letting the manager off the hook. Because their best roster right now is with Devers at first, Meyer at short, Anthony at DH, and that's not happening because of the egos in the room, because Cora won't do it, because Devers won't do it, and they don't want a bench Story, which is what he deserves. So good on Christian Campbell, but this still doesn't fix the real problems they have with this team.
Okay, so before I rebut Matt, because believe it or not, there's a lot of that I don't agree with. And I'll tell you why momentarily. But first, let's just hear from Christian Campbell, because there is a news story here as it pertains to the Red Sox, and that is that they have at least begun the process of trying to find the replacement for Tristan Casas by putting Christian Campbell at first base pregame, not in the game, but they're working him out at first base, going over footwork drills, things of the like, so you get some familiarity there and some understanding of what's involved in playing the position. Jimmy, if we could play Christian Campbell number 2 in a second, that'd be great, because he alluded to something that Matt McCarthy just said in his comments about whether the Red Sox want to put him there at all. And again, so here is Christian Campbell before the game.
It seemed like you were getting a lot thrown at you during just this first day. How comfortable did you feel just starting to learn?
I feel pretty comfortable. I mean, they do a really good job of introducing new things to me all the time, and it's just another position. I think this is my last position. I needed to learn out of all of them, so I get to knock it off my bucket list for sure.
Okay, so again, the part of it that's interesting there is, again, as Matt McCarthy said, Christian Campbell has played every other position on the diamond, save for pitcher and catcher. He hasn't played at first base in the minor leagues. And Matt, I understand your point about, well, if they wanted him there, they would have put him there, except I don't think that's true. They had Casas,
Sure,
who's 25, and they were resistant about moving Devers at spring training because of Casas was there. They didn't want to plant that seed in Casas' head at the time. So I'm not telling you I agree with their thinking, but I think the logic was we're not going to mess with Casas. So whether it's Campbell in the minors or whether it's Devers at AAA, they felt like they were going to do that. Again, I personally disagree with them. I think they could have done it more easily with Devers by saying, hey, look, he's a veteran guy. There are times where you're going to need some time off, or if something happens to you, we need another alternative, and we want to expose Devers to that position because long-term he may end up there anyway. Or not. Who knows? But they didn't do that. Now, the other thing with Campbell to me is this. He kind of sucks at second base.
he's not very good there.
So I know people love Christian Campbell, but I would tell you in the same breath, he has not been good there. In the last game, he failed to turn or start a double play, or maybe it was 2 games ago, the middle game in Detroit. He failed to start a double play that at least cost Brian Bayo some pitches. Now, again, it didn't, no runs scored as a result of the failure to turn 2, but he made a bad feed to Hamilton. They weren't able to execute it, and thus far in this season, the Red Sox have made the 3rd most errors in the majors at second base, and their defensive runs saved at the position rank 25th out of 30th. So they have been bad at second base as well as at first base. They've been bad on the right side, period. I think one of the big problems with Christian Campbell is that he doesn't throw very well. Nobody ever talks about it. But he doesn't throw well from the outfield. He doesn't have a great arm in the infield. And if you get him moving in either direction, I understand he's learning the position, but it doesn't feel to me like he's terribly accurate in his throws. It bugs the crap out of me that the Red Sox are treating second base like on-the-job training. It's the big leagues. If he's not ready to play it at a better level than he's playing it now, he should be playing somewhere else, or he should still be in the minors. But they need the bat. They want the bat. They clearly decided that in spring training because they weren't going to he didn't have a great spring, and they brought him up and put him in the lineup anyway.
They decided it in January.
Absolutely,
it wasn't
they
based
did.
on spring training.
So first base actually feels like a good fit for him. Because, again, less throwing. He's a big target. He's 6'3". I mean, he's thin, but he hits for power. So offensively, he can handle the position, which isn't even my biggest concern. but I think he can catch the ball, which is a significant part of the equation at first. Now, the nuances, bunts, pickoffs, cutoffs, relays, how's that going to look? We'll see.
He's a fast learner, though, and I'll give you that.
So, to me, I like the move. Now, again, why they're in this predicament is a separate thing. As for the comparison to Devers, just hold on to that for a minute. And meaning Campbell's willingness to play the position versus Devers' willingness to play the position. Because I think that is a topic and it's something that we should discuss. But we'll take your call, 617-779-0985. We'll kick it off tonight with Jack in Brookline. Go ahead, Jack.
Hey, guys. How are you tonight?
Good.
Listen, I think this is actually a good move for a couple of reasons. I was a first baseman. My brother was a first baseman and played semi-pro.
Okay, but Jack, what does that have to do with Christian Campbell?
I'll tell you exactly what it has to do with it, Tony. If you look at the habitus, the body type of the top defensive first baseman in the last 60 years, okay, they're all thin and on the taller side. Okay, the three best guys out there, generally considered were, Wes Parker, Don Mattingly.
I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna let you go because I don't need a history lesson on it. But if you're telling me it's body type, fine. Mattingly wasn't that tall. So now again, you want to tell me John Olerud or someone like that? Like, does the body type work? Sure. Yes. There's a lot of guys who are tall who suck at first base. So to me, it's about the player, his ability. I treat everything on a case-by-case basis, Matt. Ideally, you want a bigger target over there. I just don't understand what the part about him and his brother having played first has to do with.
Well,
what, because they're tall?
Knows exactly how to play the position, Maz. Don't you understand?
I don't understand why that's remotely relevant.
It isn't.
Does Campbell have the height to play first base?
Yes, he does.
Yes, he does. If he had agility and he could throw and he was good in the middle of the diamond, I wouldn't like this move. The defense up the middle is more important. But the fact is he doesn't throw well, and some of those nuances playing in the middle of the infield are tough. When you're only 20 feet from a guy and you got to make a sharp, crisp throw to start a double play, doing that can be tricky. It's easy to gun the ball from 60 feet. When you're 20 feet, to get it there with velocity, you almost have to throw it like a dart. It's a learned skill. It's not as simple as just winding up and letting it go. And again, the throw he made the other day was not a good throw. We'll play the cut for you of that play later in the show. But, it's just not as simple as putting someone tall and skinny over there.
No, but in some ways that's why I'm against the move, Maz, because they've bounced this kid around. They haven't found his position. Athletically, he can play second. Fundamentally, right now, he cannot play second. But that's not necessarily his fault. The guy's barely played professional baseball, and he's barely played second base. So you have to make a projection. Where is Christian Campbell going to be eventually? And I have not personally made the projection that he's a first baseman. If I made the projection that he was a long-term first baseman, I'd say do it. But I think long-term, I think he's a second baseman. So he's got to learn how to play that position. Don't mess around with him. Don't put him in the outfield. Don't put him at first base. This should be on somebody who's been in the big leagues longer. Rafael Devers or Trevor Story. But Devers can't be bothered, and they don't want to bother Trevor Story because they still think he's an all-star. He ain't that.
What if it's not long-term? What if it's just for this year?
I think you have better short-term options. Devers and Story most notably. Because if you're going to play the short term and the long term, keeping Campbell at second base helps him long term, and it's not like you should be missing anything short term. There are other guys who can play first base. I just wouldn't go this route. It makes them better, don't get me wrong. This is better than Romy Gonzalez, but I would keep him at second and look to somebody else to play first base.
Okay, I'm curious as to the thoughts of Red Sox fans. Again, this is not a small piece of news. Because what it does, if Campbell goes over to first, it opens the door later for Marcelo Meyer to come up and play second base. And by the way, Marcelo Meyer, in his last month in the minor leagues, is hitting over 300 with an OPS in the 900s. So Marcelo Meyer has been basically the same hitter that Roman Anthony has been for the last month. Now, I don't think he projects as that long term. Anthony's got more power, he's bigger, etc. But if you're getting offensive production in the middle of the diamond, that's better than what you've been getting at first base, and Campbell kicks over, you're a better team. Start there. I will take your calls when we come back in the baseball hour.
On the spin, Hamilton got the bag, but not the double play.
All right. That ball's hit hard. That was a good play by Campbell to get to it, but then just not a good feed to Hamilton. Plenty of time to turn the double play, but you'll see where this feed is towards the shortstop. It's a good angle. Kind of rushes it. Hamilton does a good job just to glove it, keep his foot on the bag, but by then no chance to turn it.
That's the second time in the last week we've seen just a little bit of a rush throw from Campbell at second.
We need more efficiency. He's got to go deeper into games. We didn't turn a double play in the fifth. That hurt him too. And that's the double play he's talking about. And so, again, I'm just going by the numbers and my eyes. But the numbers are that the Red Sox have the third most errors in baseball at second base, and they rank 25th in defensive runs saved. Christian Campbell has been your second baseman. Now, Jimmy Stewart, our producer, heard an interesting thing about this whole switch with Campbell. Jimmy, what did you hear?
I heard that Tristan Campbell has been advocating to play first base since Casas went down with an injury to help out the team.
Okay. And and why did it take so long, Jimmy?
Because the organization was against moving Campbell to first base.
Okay. Now, my guess...
Until today, apparently.
My guess, Matt, is that it's probably for the reasons you said. They don't want to mess with a young guy. Campbell probably kept pushing. And by the way, Campbell of late has not been swinging a good bat. Campbell is...
He went through a 3 for 38 slump, I think.
Yeah. Jimmy, I think he's 4 for 43 in his last, 10 or 11 games, something like that. I'll see if I can get it exactly for you.
No, the league has adjusted to him, and he hasn't adjusted back.
4 for 43 with 15 strikeouts in his last 10 games. Okay, now again, the offense is sort of irrelevant in some ways, but I'm actually, part of me is glad that it happened this way because now people can't link it to him. They're messing with him and putting it in his head about first base or what have you. To me, I think, there are going to be ups and downs with young players, but not to say I told you so.
No, but you did.
Okay, early in the year I said, because you could see Casas was struggling. And if they want to get Anthony in the lineup, I said, start working Anthony out at first base in the minors. The Red Sox didn't want to do that. They said they weren't going to do that, which, again, is their prerogative. He's their player. Once Campbell signed, he's got his money. I tweeted out on May 3rd, why not move Campbell there and bring Meyer up to second base? And as much as I would love to call that idea my own, I was talking to a friend of mine. Let's call him Theo.
This is going to be my first guess, by the way.
Okay. And Theo says to me, why not move Campbell to first and bring Meyer up to play second base? So that's what Theo offered. And I said, I'm stealing that as my own. Okay. You can take that for what it's worth.
I will. Theo Epstein told Maz, let's move Christian Campbell to first
I never
base.
said Epstein. I just said the guy's name was Theo. That's all I said.
Wait, what are your kids' names again? Anyway, never mind.
Mike in Tampa on Campbell. Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, good stuff, guys. Really, Jimmy Stewart, you just kind of came over the top rope there with that information. And that was my first point. I thought it was a little contradicting for Breslow to move him to first base, but if that's the information Jimmy Stewart's got, I'm going to run with it. The other point I like to bring up, too, is that I just don't sometimes feel comfortable with a guy changing positions in the season. And the way the Red Sox are playing right now, they're not playing great. So now you're going to have a guy go to first base and make some adjustments. And he's a young guy. He probably will make the adjustments. He seems ambitious. But it just kind of leaves me in a little pit in my stomach to know that you're going to have a fresh guy starting a new position. So,
yeah.
Just want to hear what you guys think about that.
So, Mike, the only thing I would add is that, remember, he's not in there for games yet. Okay, so, they're sort of introducing him to the position. And McCarthy, I'm being a wise ass. I have a college friend whose last name is Theodore, and we call him Theo.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we played baseball together, and it was his idea. And so I knew you would take it the way you took it.
How could we not, man?
No, of course. Well, that's why I did it the way I did it. I just don't want to mislead people and get Theo Epstein into some sort of trouble. But we do.
He's already gotten 6 text messages about this.
I'm sure. But we call this guy Theo. That's what we call him. So in any case, I'm not worried about, like messing with Campbell too much or what the expectations are going to be when he gets in the field. You tell me, are you?
No, I'm not worried about him personally because I think he can handle it. And by the way, I think this shows his mindset. Hey, I'll do whatever. I'll help the team wherever you need me to go. He did this in the minor leagues. He bounced all over. I just worry it might stunt his development a little bit because I do think he's a second baseman long term, and I wish the Red Sox, and my sense is the Red Sox feel the same way too based on what Jimmy just said. But here's a kid who is obviously mature beyond his years and said, the team needs help. I know there are guys in the minor leagues who can come up, and nobody in the organization right now can play first base. I'll go over there and do it. I've been paid. This will help the team. It'll get Meyer up. We need this. And guys, I'll raise my hand. And it's a 22, 23-year-old kid in a clubhouse full of professionals, grown adults, as Tristan Casas called them. None of them have raised their hand and said, I'll go over there and help the team. We need the kid who's still learning how to play and is still learning how to play second base, more importantly, to say, doesn't matter, guys, I'll go help the team. Nobody else is going to do that. That's the story here. Where are the veteran players? Why aren't they trying to help the team? And this is why they're below 500, because they have culture problems. Because in the end, the majority of those guys in that clubhouse are in it for themselves. If Trevor Story were such a leader, he would have raised his hand the day that Tristan Casas went down and said, I've played infield my entire career. I can go do it. Call Meyer up. If Rafael Devers were a professional, he would have said, bring the kid up, have him DH. We'll get Anthony in the lineup. I'll learn how to play first base. Give me a few weeks. I'll help the team. But none of those guys have done it. And it took Christian Campbell to do it. Good for him. Bad on everybody else.
Okay, is McCarthy doing headlines too? Well, McCarthy's doing it. Okay, McCarthy's got headlines when we come back. I do want to explore this part of the story, the contrast between Christian Campbell and Rafael Devers. Is it valid? Is it valid to look at Christian Campbell and say, F you, Rafael Devers, this guy will do it?
Yes.
We'll discuss that when we...
do. Let's see how we can, like I said before, I repeat myself, maximize the roster. He's a great athlete. Versatility comes into play, and there's different ways to win ball games. Obviously, scoring runs, pitching better, but I think versatility and maximizing the 26-man roster is another way, and that's what we're trying to accomplish.
Alex Cora, both with Tom Caron on the Nesson pregame show. So just to me, this is a little out of the ordinary. The Red Sox have made both of those guys available to their pregame show, and I'm not criticizing them for it. They should. They almost never do this. So typically the manager would make the announcement in the interview room with the members of the media, which I'm sure he did anyway, but he also did the stint on Nesson. The Red Sox are obviously making a much bigger effort to also control the message a little bit as it pertains that, so the fans can hear it directly from Cora, asked by a member of their own staff about whether this means Marcelo Meyer is coming up, what have you. But I just mentioned that off the cuff because, to hear Tom Caron ask the questions, that sounded like a one-on-one. I'm assuming it was, Jimmy, right? Caron wasn't in the interview room. So they clearly made the time for Cora to do that. Nesson records the pregame interview with Cora. They could have just gotten the sound there. They asked for Cora to go on with Tom Caron. So I just think that's it's a difference in their approach.
I think they usually do TC with the manager on Fridays.
Do
right?
they? Is that regular? Is that a regular thing?
Regular thing. They do the extra half hour, and they get Caron. They get Cora on Fridays.
What about players?
That I'm not sure.
Because that was TC with Campbell too, right? So to me, it just feels like obviously Nesson knew this was coming, or they asked once they saw it, whatever.
That's great. It's tremendous.
But I think it allows the Red Sox to try to control the message with their fan base a little bit more. But back to Devers. You believe that this makes Devers look bad?
Yeah. How could it not?
Okay. I don't. And I'll tell you why. First of all, the fact that Devers looks bad is on Devers entirely. That part I don't. In other words, he's done that plenty on his own. Also, I don't think it's the same to compare Devers to Campbell. Campbell's a rookie who's been here for 40 games. If he refused to change positions, he would look like an epic spoiled brat. And there would be no winning for that either. In fact, Devers might even catch more heat if he did that because see this kind of standard you're setting for young players where the young player can turn you down. Now, do I think it's good that Campbell's doing it? Sure. Yes, of course. Good for him. And is it good if as Jimmy Stewart said, Campbell volunteered for it and pushed the Red Sox to allow it? Yes, by all means, good for him. I also think if the Red Sox didn't want to do it, they would have kept saying no. So they were looking for an excuse, and they probably wanted out there that Campbell is pushing. Because if something goes wrong and his development is at all stunted, they will look like idiots. And so this way, hey, he asked, we resisted for a while, but he was adamant about it, so we said yes. But I just think, now again, I'm not defending Devers. Don't misunderstand that. The fact that Devers said no is an indictment on him from the very beginning. But I don't think he and Campbell are in the same boat. I think they're different. That's just my 2 cents. Doesn't mean I'm right, man.
No, they are different situations. I understand what you're saying. Devers a veteran player. He's more established. It's harder for a young player to say, I won't do it. But I believe Jimmy Stewart. I believe that Campbell went to the Red Sox and said, I'll do it. And we had the McAdam reporting last week that maybe the Red Sox were hoping Devers was going to approach them, raise his hand, volunteer, and say, guys, I'll do it to help the team. And that day never came, and they ultimately approached him, and he shot them down and then went on his rant before they went to Kansas City, and then the owner had to follow it. Here's the thing, Maz. It's just very simple. Christian Campbell, by doing this, is a team player. Rafael Devers, by doing what he has done, going back to spring training, is not a team player, and he's a baby. And that's hurting the Red Sox. They have culture problems. Good on the kid for doing his small part to maybe create a little bit more of a winning culture because he's doing this because he thinks it's going to make the team better and they're going to win more baseball games. Good for him. I just wish the veteran players in that clubhouse would take the same approach as the 23-year-old kid. They'd be better off if that happened.
So look, now you want to talk about a culture problem and whether or not guys are doing what is necessary to win games. I'm all in, because whether it's Devers changing positions or Story changing positions, which I'm not surprised that neither one of those guys, again, just because I'm not surprised doesn't mean I endorsed it. Veteran players get territorial, and in the case of Story in particular, he'd be opening the door for someone to take his job.
Well, he's already opening the door anyway because he's got a 630 OPS and he sucks, Maz. He should not be playing shortstop for this team anymore.
So, now again, the defense, though, has been okay. And I still think that, I like the idea of having Story at short and Meyer at second defensively. And but I do want to see Roman Anthony's bat in the lineup at some point. In other words, if you can get Campbell, Meyer, and Anthony in the lineup without touching the left side of the infield, that is what I would prefer. And I think that, right now that it feels like that's where they're headed. Nelson and Brookline on Christian Campbell's move potentially to first base. Go ahead, Nelson.
Tony, first of all, I respect and love your work. I'm glad the other curmudgeon isn't there. But here's my thing that I was wondering, right, is that all spring training, I've always seen Marcelo Mayer essentially outperformed Christian.
Correct.
Both offensively, we all know he's a better defensive player.
Correct.
Now, I feel like the Red Sox have essentially been shoving Christian Campbell, as well as the media as well, shoving him down our throats. And I have never seen any clear indication that he's a better player, even seeing it now, right? So I'm just curious, what are your thoughts about that whole situation? Like, why is it that they felt compelled to put Christian in the limelight up there in that position when Marcelo Mayer was clearly the better player?
Okay, listen, it's a good question. I bet you Matt McCarthy has the answer. Go ahead, Matt.
So they wanted a right-handed bat.
Bingo.
They made the decision in January. It had nothing to do with how they performed in spring training, because Meyer was one of the best players in spring training and Campbell was anything but. He was far from it. Really up until the last week of spring training, I mean, he sucked for the majority of spring training. But they knew they needed a right-handed bat, and I do think it's a little bit unfair to say that Meyer is a better player than Campbell. Campbell had surpassed Meyer in the vast majority of the prospect rankings. So maybe you could make the argument that Meyer was still better. He has more experience, all that stuff. But I think Campbell has surpassed Meyer in the eyes of most and probably in the eyes of the organization. That doesn't mean that Meyer won't be a good big leaguer. I think he will be. But I think they think Campbell has a chance to be a superstar, and I think they probably think Meyer is something a step down from that.
So, and Nelson, here's the other thing I would tell you, that because everything you said about spring training was right. Meyer was the better player. He was. The right-handed bat thing is what they were looking for. They're a heavy left-handed lineup. They wanted a righty in the middle of the lineup. Hell, now that Casas is out, they have Campbell hitting cleanup, which you would never have seen in the Red Sox. I'll call it their heyday when they were winning titles with Theo Epstein and Terry Francona. They would never have put a rookie in the cleanup spot 30 games into the season.
Not a chance.
They would never have done that.
Cleanup's a different spot than it once was.
No, but in 2011, down the stretch, they put Ryan Lavarnway, a rookie, in the 4 spot.
Okay, but
thanks for reminding me of that.
Thanks, John Henry and analytics team.
Did they in 2011? They did.
In 2011, when they were collapsing against the Orioles, Ryan Lavarnway was either the 3 or the 4 hitter in Terry Francona's lineup, mostly pressured by John Henry and the analytics department, from what I've heard.
Okay, so what I would tell you though is I also said 30 games into the season.
Oh, I know.
Right, so. There are when a rookie player is later in the year versus early in the year are two different things to me. So you don't put too much on him too early. But I will say that now I lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry, Tony. I do that too often.
No, it's okay. I forgot. About the caller's point that Meyer and Campbell and what kind of players they are. Here's what I would tell you. I think Campbell has more upside offensively, but they're different players. Meyer is a more complete player than Campbell is because I think Meyer can give you something on both sides.
Right.
So, and he's very smooth. I mean, he looked ready for the big leagues in spring training. He looked really smooth on both sides. Now, what will the defense be in the big leagues when, he doesn't know the hitters, doesn't know the runners, maybe he's rushing throws, maybe he's not. I don't know. We'll see. But he is a bigger shortstop. They list him as 6'3" as well. I think he's closer to 6'2", maybe even a little under that. But whatever.
Mass has been out there with his tape measure.
I'm just telling you, when you look at him, he doesn't look that big. He doesn't look as big or as tall as Campbell or Anthony, both of whom are good-sized kids. So they're both good. They're just different. And Campbell, to me, is offensively, he's a little bit of a freak.
He's dynamite. I mean, I know he's been slumping. That home run he hit the other night in Detroit, no business hitting a home run low and in to the opposite field with that type of authority. That's special.
And that's what makes him different.
Right.
Sean's in a car. Sean, go ahead.
Hold on.
Sean.
Hello? Hi. So, listen, I just wanted to chime in on this comparison of how Christian Campbell is handling potentially moving to first versus Devers. I don't even think there's a comparison to be made. One of them is basically a rookie on an $80 million contract. The other one is a veteran on a $300 million contract. There's are probably all sorts of pride issues that Devers is dealing with. So it's not – you would have to compare veteran to veteran and see how they would react, but not a rookie first year. He's going to do anything the Red Sox ask him. If the Red Sox ask him to play catcher, he play catcher.
So, Sean –
anyways, that's all I point.
Yeah, Sean, that's how I feel. I know this. When I was starting out answering phones at the Boston Herald X number of years ago, and Felger was the same way. If they asked me to go wipe the floor with toilet paper in the bathroom, I would do it. So it didn't matter what it was. If they asked me to go pick up the dinner order, that was our job. Like, we used to pick up the dinner order. So when you're young, you're willing to do anything. But I understand what you're saying. That doesn't mean that the veteran guys are exempt from criticism if they're not willing to do it.
Right. But
I'm just telling you, I wouldn't compare the two.
I also believe that the Red Sox didn't ask Christian Campbell to do this. I believe Jimmy Stewart when he says Christian Campbell asked the Red Sox to do it. So if the 23-year-old kid is enough of a team player himself to go to the team and say, I'm going to do this, we can't then look at the 29-year-old overpaid fat DH who's supposed to be the face of the franchise who won't do the same thing? Come on.
Maybe the kid's a kiss ass. I wouldn't rule that out. I'm not criticizing for it. I'm just saying.
That's a sports hub take right there. Maybe Christian Campbell trying to help the team is a kiss ass.
We'll wrap it up when we come back on the Baseball Hour.
The Baseball Hour.
and just getting used to it. I've never played over there before, so I'm not sure exactly what the plans are, but that's something I definitely have to get used to.
Okay, so there you go. Christian Campbell expressing a willingness to play the position. And again, I do give the kid credit for it. He seems like an unbelievably open-minded, likable kid, like lots to like about him. And not to play the role of cynic with you here, but again, let's see what he's like in 8 years. I've seen it before. They come in all wide-eyed and happy to be in the big leagues, and then, before long, it's like, F you, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
So we all end up there sooner or later.
Look at what happened to me, Maz.
All of us. Seriously. Just quick, I know Matt McCarthy has a thought at the end of the show that we'll get to. First, quickly, Jamal in Boston. Go ahead, Jamal.
Yeah, Maz. Sorry if you guys had brought this up, but I know Blaze Jordan. He's been with the program for like a couple of years. I was wondering. I know he was first baseman, and I switched him to third a few times. I was wondering if he was any type of option in the future.
Okay, good question. We got a call about him last week. McCarthy, what's the latest on Blaze Jordan? Do you know?
I don't care. He's not the first baseman of the future.
Good answer.
Stop with the Blaze Jordan thing. No.
So I can tell you right now at AA Portland, he is batting .272 with 2 home runs, 30 games, and an OPS of 790. Last year at AA, when he got bumped up, his OPS was 693. So he's been at AA for 119 games career. Actually, it's more than that. 168, and his OPS is 711. So, it just hasn't happened. He was never really regarded as like a super elite prospect. And, to me, he's a classic guy you should have traded. But in any case, I know you have something you want to get to, so take your time.
No, real quick, because I almost never do anything personal on the air today at all, Maz. But I did come in dressed up today, and everybody's been commenting on that. So I did want to acknowledge my brother, Eric, who graduated from law school today, which is just an incredible accomplishment, and I can't begin to describe, the immense pride I feel, Maz. I'm just so proud of him. So I could extol his virtues, or I could do a Sports Hub congratulations to him.
I like the latter.
Yeah, I think it would only be fair and consistent. If I'm going to come in and criticize all these athletes and all these teams for these accomplishments, if I'm going to diminish those accomplishments, which is something I do, shouldn't I do it to the people in my life too?
Yes, absolutely.
Eric finished second in his class. Second, which you might say, wow, that's really impressive.
It's like losing the World Series.
Largest graduating class ever. Oh my God, he must be so bright. I don't know. Let me know when you win, okay? I'm about championships here. So congratulations to 2025 law school champion, Christina Rex of WBZ News. The valedictorian, congratulations to her. I like championships, Maz. He's the first federal student attorney in the history of the District of Massachusetts.
Is that right?
Who are you, John Adams now? Give me a break. Let me know when you're John Adams. The first, whatever. You know what? Massachusetts used to be a bigger state than it once was. Whatever. And most importantly, Maz, he's my younger brother. I hope he never forgets who was here first. Love you, kid.
Exactly. It's all about birth order. Okay, do you know what kind of law he wants to go into? Any idea?
Criminal litigation, prosecution, all that stuff.
I was just going to ask you that because I got a couple of potential clients for him. I thought my wife's in corporate law, like Felger's family's all lawyers. Anyway.
Maz, I would recommend that they hire the person who finished first in the class, not second.
So there you go. Very good idea. Well, congratulations to Eric McCarthy. Again, one more lawyer the world doesn't need. So anyway.
In the words of the great Lionel Hutz, Maz, if there's one thing America needs, it's more lawyers.
Exactly right. Joe Murray coming up next. He's got you right up until Celtics pregame. And then obviously we'll have...